Hey guys, this is Matt Chieco from Pop Review Movie Podcast. I have been off for a little bit. I apologize, but I am back, and it's a supersized video. 3 movies, triple feature. Let's go. So what are the 3 movies we're talking about? Well, I'll tell you. We're talking about Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. We're talking about The Northman, and we're talking about The Unbearable Weight of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Sorry, I get that title confused all the time. These are old movies. I apologize for the delay of the review that we're talking about right now. But if you listen to our podcast, if you didn't, I'll tell you right now, we've moved. I set up this old little studio. Let me see if I can get it here. Not really, but that was nothing, so sorry. And so now I'm all set up and I want to catch up and start doing videos again. Let me just give a warning really quick. This is a spoiler alert for all 3 movies. It's just a warning, just in case I say something. Or spoiler warning, I guess. First one, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Ooh, was this a good movie? So good. Such an original, fun, wild, fast-paced ride. I loved every minute of it. And we're in this time where I love these movies, don't get me wrong, but we're in this time where it's so many big budget action movies are out, and it's kind of, they're similar, where the style could be different, but the stories kind of are similar, especially this multiverse, superhero genre is doing it now. Like I said, I love these movies, but it was nice to see this small story, but still action-packed and still packed full of the stuff I love from a blockbuster. So it was such a nice balance, and some of the other movies I'll talk about, their balance wasn't as great, but we'll get to that. Like I said, there's been this whole multiverse kind of trend right now. The superhero movies are doing it, and I thought they did it so well. It was probably my favorite one so far that they've done of the multiverse. They just knocked it out of the park with the concept. It was great. At first, I thought it was going to be more of a in-the-box kind of creative-wise for the story, kind of not super out of the box, because they had the good, they had the evil. I thought it was kind of going to be stuff like that. I thought they were doing a twist on the action superhero genre. So they were going to have that. But then literally, I don't know when in the movie I realized, but all of a sudden they just took that idea that they had of we're going to do an action movie and just took it on its head and went fucking bonkers. And I loved it. Everything you expected out of this movie was thrown out the window, and you really didn't know where it was going. And it's not like there was a huge plot twist. You're like, whoa. It was just the originality, you in the uniqueness of the story is just, I feel so refreshing nowadays that you're I don't know where they're going with this, because it really could go anywhere, because they're taking it everywhere. Everything Everywhere All at Once. See that name? Full circle. And even though I loved the story, I did get confused one part. There was the everything story part, the everywhere all at once. I got confused at the everything everywhere. Sorry, I got confused in the part 2 everywhere part. I got confused in part 2 where they were doing everywhere, because at the part where, she's fighting, it looks like she's dead, and it kind of comes out and it actually is a movie with one of the multiversal Michelle Yeoh characters was an actress. I was wait, did they just kill her? And then she went back, and I was was this a dream? But then I realized that that she's everywhere now. She senses everywhere. She has that third eye. So I'm oh, she's now back where she was, but still experiencing everything everywhere. And once I kind of realized that, it clicked right back in, and I was oh, I understand everything that's happening. Besides that little, and I'm also very weird with time travel, multiverse. I just get confused a little. And they had this idea very concise, and you understood it, except for that one part. But I won't knock them, because 90% I was oh, I get this, I love it, let's move on. And I guess that's really a testament to the writing and the directing from the directing duo Daniels, or the Daniels. They literally knocked it out of the fucking park. And not only do I want to go back and watch their other movies, I wanted them to direct so many more movies. And I would love for them to direct a Marvel or DC movie, because they have the chops. This literally was better than some Marvel and DC movies. Don't come at me, but it's kind of true. And also why this movie is so great, not just because of the writing and directing, but also because of the acting. And Michelle Yeoh, Stephanie Hugh, and Ki Hung Kwan. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing, I apologize, but the three of them were phenomenal. Phenomenal. And like really, they should be getting Oscars. The directing should be getting Oscars. The director should be getting Oscars. Who also wrote it? Which they should be getting Oscars for writing. Really, this movie can be getting an Oscar for almost every category because they built this world and also had a great story in it. They did both. They world build. They world builded. Is that a word? I don't know. But they also had such a strong story in the forefront. Like literally, I hope people don't forget about this movie. And I don't think they are because the box office for this movie is like is like amazing. It's so fun to watch because there's not movies like this that often, especially now with streaming and all that. Like there's not a lot of movies that start small and just keep going, keep going, keep going. It's really a box office bonanza because it's not these huge numbers, but every week it's consistent. And it's about to be, I think it's about to be the number 3 movie of A24. If it's not, when you're watching this video, it might have already been. I don't know. Like, can it beat Uncut Gems at 50 million? It might be able to because this movie has not lost steam. Literally, like, even with Doctor Strange, it's still holding consistent. And I think it was so smart of A24 to, like, release it in between No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness because you had the trailers playing in front of these huge movies and in the smaller movies that A24 is producing also. So it's like the marketing was so smart. And I think it's also staying in the picture because whenever Doctor Strange or Spider-Man's in the picture, people are mentioning Everything Everywhere All at Once because they're like, this is another multiversal movie, like an original one. And like I liked both those movies, Spider-Man No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness, but this did it better than the two of them. Like the multiverse aspect. And that's why I'm like, I think jamming it in between these two movies was brilliant. And I'm hoping. I don't think it came out in March, I believe, and it still hasn't left the conversation. So I'm hoping by Oscars it's still not going to leave the conversation. So let's pray and hope that it doesn't because this movie deserves as many Oscars as any movie that's come out last year for the Oscars and probably for this year for the Oscars. And also, I forgot to say, it's like already number 50 on the IMDb top 250. I mean, that's what we're doing for the podcast, so that's how I know. We're going through the IMDb top 250 and like going through all the movies. And it's number 50 already, and it started at number 55. And usually movies come and go that are like recent, but this has stayed and this has gone higher and higher. It just makes me so happy to see it. It's like one of those movies where I'm like, every day I'm like, oh, what's the box office for that? Where is it today? Where is it that? And it's so much fun to follow. And I think one of the reasons why it's so popular because it benefits from having two huge audiences, the general audience and like the art house audience, because it's an art house blockbuster, which is like very rare. And I love it. Which is like, should be like a new category because you have A24 that lets you do whatever you want and tell the story you want. But you also have the Russo brothers who's made all these Marvel movies and these big movies that help you guide you on how to do all the stunts and to tell this huge story in the best way possible. So they literally have the best of both worlds. You have A24 that lets you be weird as fuck, and the Russo brothers and the Russo brothers production company, Abogo, I believe is called, that's like kind of telling you how to tell this big story and giving the best tips. And like I think they balanced it so well where it was like general appeal to art house and it didn't go too weird, but it didn't go too generic. It was balanced beautifully. And this movie, 10 out of 10. My hands are cut off. I don't care. It's so good. Please watch if you haven't. Let's keep those box office numbers up. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's get them their Oscar wins. And that is Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Northman. So I'm going to start off by saying that I really did enjoy this movie. It had its flaws, but I did enjoy it because I'm probably going to have a lot of negatives for it, but I did enjoy it. It just didn't make me love it. So that's we're going to start there. And I've never seen Robert Eager's other previous films, but I believe this is his most mainstream. Like I was talking about Everything Everywhere All at Once, it was trying to combine it into a art house blockbuster, but it didn't have that balance that I wanted that Everything Everywhere All at Once had. Because you have like the kind of like, straightforward revenge story, but then you had this also like Norse mythology which I feel like they had more broad appeal than they did art house, and I feel like they added more art house with the Norse and kind of made it a little. Well, it was kind of weird already, but if they kind of balanced the Norse mythology and the weirdness with the straightforward revenge story, I think it really could have shined more, and I think I would have enjoyed it more. It just didn't have that balance, and especially seeing everything everywhere all at once at first, you know what you're looking for with that balance, and this one just didn't have it. And I think what did help was the acting. I thought the acting was very good. I thought Anya Taylor-Joy was amazing. I thought Nicole Kidman grew on me, especially her like monologue when you find out um, that she actually had Ethan Hawke killed, her husband. I thought Ethan Hawke was good. I thought um, Bjork was good. She did what she had to do. The only person I actually thought, yeah, I thought everyone was good. I thought the only limitation was Alexander Skarsgård, just because like I feel like it showed his range was limited. He was great in the action, he was all that, but like sometimes I feel like he was very caveman-y, and maybe that's how he was trying to portray it. But his performance got lost in translation for me. But that's just my opinion. Yeah, there could be other. You guys could be saying, let me know down below in the comments. But you guys could be saying he was the best part. So just for me, I thought everyone else outacted him. Not that he was a bad actor. It just showed that he could only hit a certain point while everyone else was like through the roof. But what was through the roof as well was the cinematography and the score. Both of those were phenomenal. Like literally the score was amazing because it's also the loudest movie you've ever seen in your life, or the loudest movie you've ever heard in your life. But it was just like oh my god, like it's like that's why you had to see in theaters too, because like, or if it's still playing in theaters, but like that's why I'm glad I saw it, because it was like the whole theater was fucking shaking, and the cinematography also made it. I was happy that I saw it in theaters because it was just so grand and like just so stunning. Like those two things, like those are the things I walked out of the theater saying those were amazing, and those are the Oscars that can get. Because this was an Oscar they wanted it for an Oscar contender. I don't think it's going to be, but if anything, those two are it. Like the score, I can. It's just like these battle songs, and so good, and the cinematography so good. And like I said before, like I actually wish they added more Norse mythology. Like that, I think could have helped its balance, because it would have, I think, kind of made a thread through it all. They would have trimmed some of it to add more to it. They would have trimmed some of the fat in this movie that I think that wasn't needed for the Norse mythology, which I feel like could have been a cool element in it. And like I said, they could have made like a cool story with it, like almost like having like these like gods and stuff like that. I also love Norse mythology. I think it's really cool. I wish I would have seen more of that. But besides that, it was a good movie. It's just it was good, but I just like can't move to the next step. It's like there were these problems that was, like I said in the beginning of in the beginning of this movie, talking about this movie. It's just I couldn't get past the flaws to say I love it. So that's why I like it. But I think I would give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. Good, not great. No, everything everywhere all at once, but I mean, I don't think you can't have lightning in a bottle twice. And finally, the last movie is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Just kind of like Everything Everywhere All at Once. It was just fun. It was funny. It was well written. It was well directed. It wasn't as good as Everything Everywhere All at Once because it did have its flaws, where Everything Everywhere All at Once, oh my god, that is a tongue twister. Literally, like, just perfect. This, it was in the same vein of like just like a different type of movie, which I feel like 2022 movies are doing that. It's kind of movies that they're all different. Like you look at all three of these movies I'm talking about, they're all different movies, which is kind of like why I'm loving this year in movies, because I feel like people are taking I feel like during COVID they had these crazy ideas and now they're like coming to fruition, and I think that's great. But I think what this movie did so perfectly and why it was so smart, like smartly written, smartly directed, was because the story was about like jumping through genres because they're writing this movie, and each time they're in a different genre, that's how the movie is written and portrayed on the screen. Like when they're making fun of Marvel movies and like these like big blockbusters, but like in the movie they have these huge like car chases and explosions, and like they're pretty much making a huge blockbuster, which I thought was funny. And then when they're talking about different things like paranoia, that's what it's all about. And I think that's why I think it was good on the big screen. And also, I didn't say there was Everything Everywhere All at Once, but that should be seen on a big screen just because of how stunning it is. But back to the Unbearable Weight movie. This was a Nick Cage movie of all Nick Cage movies for me. I loved it so much. It was a wacky Nick Cage film that could appeal to everyone weirdly too. I feel like if you're a fan or not, it's still a fun movie because it gets wacky, but it's still like a fun wacky, not like a weird wacky for, more general audiences. Because like I knew this was gonna be weird when he kisses his imaginary self. I was like, oh boy, we're in for a wild ride. Now the only flaw, well, one of the only flaws I had with this movie was that the beginning felt like a TV movie. It was, and I think that's because the director isn't like. I think once the director kind of got his teeth into it, uh, he was able to have fun with it. This one, I feel like they had to get the beginning story out of the way, and like that kind of tripped everyone up because it wasn't as wacky as the rest of the movie. So like that kind of felt like a made-for-TV movie, which I didn't love. It still wasn't bad, but I didn't love it. Like I said before, this movie I feel like should be seen in the theaters because I think Lionsgate held on to this movie in the pandemic and didn't sell it to streaming. And I think that was a good choice, even though the box office numbers aren't great. I think they will be on PVOD, which maybe they should have done streaming. But for me, this movie should be on the big screen because it's making fun of all these genres, and it really clicks with you watching on a big screen because you see each genre, which I thought was great. Like I think it would be a little lost in translation watching it on TV. I think watching it for like a repeat on TV would be fine, but just like for the first time. But another great thing about this movie was the acting. Everyone committed, everyone just went for it and just was kind of over the top, but in the best way. Like Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal, like one went crazy, the other one went crazier. Like it was, but they're such good actors. I feel like, I think so at least, but that they were able to kind of rein themselves in, but still be crazy. I just feel like it worked with the movie. The movie's just crazy. So I feel like if you're trying to be like, they made a movie out of the movie and like Demi Moore was in it. And it was just like, I feel like if you're trying to be serious and like in your head about it, this movie would have tanked. And I think they all just had a fun time, which I think also you felt it, that they had a fun time making it and creating this, that I think it was I think it worked all around. It pretty much what I'm trying to say is there's a breath of fresh air. I think like with Everything Everywhere All at Once, like I said, it's not like that. It's not as high as that, but it was just in that reign where it's like, this feels different and I like it. Like it just, you're having a good time. Everything Everywhere All at Once, though, was just like, there was a lot of substance to it as well. And just like, finally, I just have to say this because I feel like it was a missed opportunity. I think with COVID, David Gordon Green was the director in the movie. And I read somewhere on how true it is, but because of COVID, they were going to have Quentin Tarantino also, and it just didn't work out with COVID. But I feel like, no disrespect to that director, David Gordon Green, but I feel like Quentin Tarantino would have been the perfect choice to have like a real life celebrity in it because he's so wacky, and it just would have fit and like melded so perfectly with this movie. But that's just one of my things where I'm like, oh, that was such a fucking missed opportunity. But I mean, this movie, I would give this movie a 9 out of 10 because I really enjoyed it. I just thought it was really good. And like I said before, these three movies, I thought they're all three different movies. And it's just so refreshing, I should say, to see that instead of just saying like, oh, it's very similar to the ones I've seen before. And this year has been a little different in that way because I feel like all the movies are so different and they're so specific to their films. And it's not like, oh, you can kind of morph them all together. With these three, you really can't. This is a good triple feature, talking about these three movies. And I want to know what you guys thought of these three movies down below. I hope you enjoyed this video because I am back and I'm going to be trying making more movies. Not making more movies, making more videos. It's been a while, guys. But thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Cheers.